Okay, so this is an improvement already in game. Last time we had Queen 10 suited in early position, we limped. Here we're min raising. I love it. It's tough to play. It's tough to play this way from early position, but I think it's good to mix up your game so that you are raising in early position with hands like this with speculative value, and the fact that you're min raising, not committing too much pre-flop, is ideal. So I love this play. You may not win a lot of hands raising Queen 10 suited in early position, but the fact that you are giving yourself a chance and mixing up a play like this, and an overall strategy sense, I like that a lot. I assume you're going to lead out here. Yeah, again, that play is going to accomplish exactly the opposite of what you want. It's going to get worse hands to fold and better hands to raise you or to come along with you. You don't have to commit so many chips to get your opponents to fold. You could bet 400, or even if you want as high as 450 or 475, and get hands to fold that haven't hit the flop. If somebody has a better hand than you, they're going to come over the top of you. If Master comes over the top, you're going to fold. If Steph comes over the top, well, you're probably pot committed to call with, a hand as bad as 2 overcards in this spot. Betting smaller does the same job, and you commit less chips to the pot in doing so. So I like the pre-flop raise, but the post-flop bet sizing was horrible. You can get the same job done with putting less chips in play. Again with the Queen 10. So somewhere along the way, Steph went from 1,500 chips to 7,000. I'm not going to go back to see how that would happen, but it is curious to notice. So we min raise. Min raising is fine from any other position from small blind, because you're going to be out of position for the entirety of the hand post flop. So you want to charge your opponents more to take the flop with you. Min raising gives them the best price possible. You see he's getting 3.7 to 1 to call here. A player like this, who, as you can see, his VPIP is 62%, he's going to call anyway. So you want to put more pressure on him to call pre-flop and not take the flop with you with such a good price. So he calls, as he would call with any hand here. This is too small a bet. As before, when you let out for full pot, that was too large a size of a bet. This bet size is not accomplishing anything, especially against a player like this. I think he would call this bet with a hand as bad as 4 high, even. Which be more consistent with your post-flop bet sizing, so that your opponents have less read on you and are able to discern less effectively the strength of your hand. As you can see, he calls, and that does not mean anything, because he is the kind of player that would call anything. So you've bloated the size of the pot with no pair, no draw. You don't have any information on your opponent because he's not folding to such small bet size. You're basically bloating the size of the pot, never getting a fold, and all you have is queen high. You check, he checks. You check. Now he bets tiny, and now see, what are you going to do here? This, I don't give him credit for thinking this way necessarily, but I think this is a great bet size. It's putting the minimum amount of chips in the pot and somehow applying the maximum amount of pressure. You fold. I think even that fold is a mistake. I think given the size of the pot and the bet size, you only have to win 11% of the time, as you can see here, for this to be an effective call. You're beating 8-10. You're beating Jack 10. You're beating, 4-6. There's a whole bunch of things that you're beating that a player like this could have that makes calling here a mathematically correct play. But you fold, and you basically bloated a pot you never had a chance to win. Alright, min-raise with pocket threes. I like it. We're going to bet here. Still a little on the big side. I would, if you're going to c-bet, I don't like your consistency with your post-flop betting. That's the thing. That's the biggest criticism I have so far in this tournament. I like the fact that you're betting post-flop a lot, but the sizing is a bit inconsistent for my taste. He raises and you fold. Well, let's see. That's a nice play. I don't know if he had a read on you or if he actually had a hand, but if you would bet 400, you would get the same information there as if you bet 600. You would get all the hands that don't have anything to fold and all the hands to beat you that are going to raise you to raise. And you're betting less, committing less chips to getting that information. Alright, pocket eights in the small blind. We get a raise by God of Wrath, call by Kingdom of Dragon. Okay, I don't mind flatting here if that's what you're going to do. I actually would really like if you raised here. Raising here is called squeeze, where when there's a raise and a call, if you re-raise after that, you're squeezing this guy in between you and him. You want to make that play when this is an aggressive opener, and this is a player who's known to flat a lot of hands, which is actually just the exact situation here. We have an aggressive opener and a player who likes to flat call a lot pre-flop. So you're only really worried about God of Wrath here, and because he has a large pre-flop raise percentage, he's going to fold a larger percent of the time. And pocket eights is definitely ahead of the hands he's raising with here. And when he folds, it's harder for KW Dragon to call because he didn't re-raise pre-flop. He's hoping to call and see a cheap flop, and when you re-raise, he can't do that anymore. So I'd like to see your re-raise here, and you do. I'm not sure about that bet size. You could probably, if you're going to go for a larger pre-flop raise, I would say do it up to about, I don't know, as high as 1400, maybe 1500. 2200 is ginormous, and as I've said before in this video, a bet size this large is only going to get action from hands that beat you. You're going to blow away hands that are worse than yours, and one of these, and God of Wrath is going to come over the top with a hand that beats you. And when he does, you're in bad shape with pocket eights. Yeah, so the bet size is horrible here. I like the idea of re-raising, but you can accomplish the same thing with putting way less chips in the pot. And they both fold. Which is exactly what you wanted, given the hands they probably had, but it wouldn't be what you wanted if one of them happened to wake up with a monster and you're committing way too many chips to the pot. Again, our favorite hand of the tournament is Queen 10 suited. I wouldn't mind a raise here, but I see the value of limping here. You could have taken a stab here. KW Dragon limping, I don't think he has an ace. Taking a stab will be, take a small stab, say bet something in the range of 290, 300 or so. Might be a good spot there, but I don't mind that you played it safe. Yeah, so now I think it's actually too late now, because what are you doing? You're trying to represent... You're not really representing anything when the 2 hits. You're representing 4-5? You would have already bet that on the turn. Yeah, I think that's too... It worked in this spot, but I think I would have liked to take this little stab a bit earlier in the hand than on the river. King Jack, we come in for a min raise. We get a call from Steph and a call from Steve. Steve and Steph are calling us. This hand is even Steven so far. Wow. So Steve leads out for a quarter of the pot. If I was in your spot, I would raise here. I don't think anything that he has that has hit this flop won't be able to stand a raise unless he, somehow flop the wheel, or has a combo draw, or two pair, or a set, or something like that. But I think he would have bet a little bit bigger with those hands. As it is, I think he's just taking a stab on a board that obviously missed your raising range. You may have to see what he has, but I would suspect that a raise versus him would have worked and would have cleared him out. I'm reading this as a bit of a weak bet. Yeah, so now it's it's turned into a bit of a stronger bet, which could mean he had the 5, or he made his flush. But I think I would like to see a small raise on the flop, just to because you are the pre-flop raiser, you're the one who gets to show strength on this board. It's hard for him to hit this board strongly with something that beats your raising range. So I think a raise pre-flop would have got the job done there, but I don't think we'll ever know that for sure. Anyway, one of the Stevens wins the pot, as probably could have been predicted. I don't like this call pre-flop, even though you're getting great pot odds, because you're going to be out of position and you have a terrible kicker. You have an ace, I know, but an ace with a terrible kicker is pretty worthless. I mean, you have a flush draw and maybe a straight draw, but I don't think those outweigh the fact that you are out of position for the rest of the hand against an aggressive player and a sticky player who likes to call a lot. Yeah, that's almost an inconsequential bet because it does not accomplish anything. I'm not sure what you're doing here. I mean, I think you're trying to represent flush or the straight, but the bet sizing is a bit too small. He's not folding a jack. He's not folding an overpair. He could have an 8. And of course he did. Yeah, see your turn bet, sorry, wasn't big enough to get him to fold his gut shot. So it didn't accomplish what you wanted it to accomplish, which was protecting what was the best hand at the moment. And then your bet on the turn was too small to get him to fold even a pair. I mean, he happened to have a straight. He was scared of the flush, which is why he didn't raise you. But if you're going to make a play like that, I think you have to bet a bit bigger. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that at this point. So aces makes a min-raise plus 30 under the gun. You re-raise. Yeah, I think flatting against an aggressive player here would be okay too, but I understand why you'd want to re-raise. If he was raising the button, I might be more inclined to flat, but he's raising under the gun, which makes his range a bit stronger and a bit tighter, so he's probably going to go along with you, maybe even re-raise you, and this way you might get action from Steph as well. But as it stands, aces just folds. Well, aces wouldn't fold there, but aces with luck did. Ace king. KW dragon raises here. You're going to come in for a re-raise. Steph calls. KW dragon calls. That's fine. I'm curious now to see what your bet size will be. Actually, let's go back to pre-flop. This is a technical issue. Okay, you're faced with a bet of 560, and you have 4861 in your stack, which is 20 big blinds. A good rule of thumb is if your stack is less than 10% of the open raise, go all in. There's 1,085 in the pot, which represents 20% of your stack. It's perfectly okay, and it's actually quite beneficial to pick that up right now and increase your stack by 20%. Anytime you can increase your stack by 20% without showdown, that's a great boon. So yeah, just remember that rule of thumb. If your stack is less than 10% of the raise, instead of re-raising and leaving yourself some chips behind, just go all in. He might call with a hand like ace queen, he might call pocket jacks, and then you're flipping. It's okay to get in there with a coin flip when you have 20 big blinds. You want to get out of that kind of stack size, and hopefully get yourself to 40 big blinds. I think it worked out for the best here. You got top pair, top kicker. You're shoving and they're folding. I think you missed a chance to get into an even bigger pot in a coin flip situation and get yourself an even bigger stack. It happened to work out here, and you won a nice pot. But that's a good rule of thumb to remember when you're looking to re-raise and your stack size is in the 20 big blind or less range. Queen jack, we'll open for a raise, that's fine. Pocket jacks in the small blind. Again, aces comes in for a raise. We have a flat behind. I assume you're going to re-raise. I'm curious to see what your bet sizing in is. I would like to make it, if it was just aces with luck, I would make it about 1,300, but because Steph flat called, I would like to make it 1,300 plus the amount of flat calls, so let's say 1,900. You go all in. That's a bit too much. Let's go back a bit. Actually, you know what? It's not as bad as I first anticipated. Because you're going to increase your stack about 20% when you go all in and pick up the 1585 in the pot. You have 7-7. Yeah, it's fairly close to. Yeah, I think shoving is actually not bad here. Now that I'm looking at it for a second time and just going over the math. Again, if there's this is my rule. This is the way I like to play. If there's about 20% of my stack in the pot already and I can shove, I do it, and I don't bother just re-raising small. So I think that's actually a fairly decent play. I wouldn't hate if you made it, like I said, 1800 there. You're deep enough that you can play post flop if one or both of them calls. But I think the shove and picking up the 1500 chips, which is 6 big blinds, that's a nice increase to your stack. So, nice hand. Well, hello. Alright, I like the idea of raising the button with... I don't like to do it with 3 deuce, but I like the show of aggression. You got kicked in the ass for doing it, but sometimes it happens. From the worst hand to the best hand. Where's the re-raise now? Alright, 2 callers is fine. Alright, I hope you don't lead out for 1700 here. Yeah, you did. Oh, it might work out in your favor. Wow, what are you checking the turn there? What are you checking the river there for? You have 4,000 back, there's 11,000 in the pot, jam the river. You're not folding, and he's calling with any queen, he's calling with any king. He doesn't have the nut flush. Yeah, I think he would have called that river shove. He would have called that river shove actually with... Well, there's not much that's a lot worse than that, but he probably would have called it with pocket 8s, pocket 6s, certainly pocket 10s, pocket jacks. If only because you only have 4,000 shoving into 11,000. Yeah, so one of the things you have to look at when playing a hand is how your bet sizing affects later streets, especially when later streets might mean you have to go all in at some point. I think you could have gone all in on the turn here. I think you probably had... What do we have here? Yeah, all in on the turn you might have is fairly justifiable. The overpair, the nut flush draw versus a player who has a huge stack, who's known to call a lot, especially shoving all in for more than the pot. If this was a tighter player, yeah, maybe make a smaller bet size, but based on the player, I think shoving here on the turn is your best bet. As it stands, betting the turn and leaving yourself less than 40% of the pot, and then not getting any further action that's a bit of a shame, actually. I think you get a good job up until the turn. I think the turn, you set yourself up for having less than a pot size bet on the river, and you didn't use it, which was a mistake. You got to get maximum value, especially in a situation when you have aces versus a calling station player who's going to call your raises pre-flop with queen deuce and then never go away on a flop like that. So I think you miss a lot of value there. King 4 in the small blind. In the big blind, I'm sorry. Yeah, against a more known aggressive player, you might want to stick around here, but against a player who's known to call, and then all of a sudden he's betting the flop for a pot size bet, that's an easy fold. Just wanted to take a second to look at it again just to make sure that was the right play. Jack 8 offsuit in the small blind. Again, this is one of those spots where people auto call. There's a couple limpers and you're in the small blind and you have any two cards and you auto call. A lot of people get into that bad habit. Jack 8 offsuit is not the worst hand to do that with, but I prefer it with Jack 8 suited or Jack 9 offsuit or Jack 10 offsuit. But you're getting a good price. We're getting 8 to 1 on our money. We're 47 big blinds deep. The big blind has 62 big blinds, so he has us covered, so we can win a big pot if we flop something nice. But on the whole, I don't like this limp. Four, 5 offsuit in the big blind after a raise. A min raise and a call. Hey, you're gonna call obviously because we're playing this hand, but I don't like it. You have 5 high against 2 players. You're gonna be out of position against one aggressive player. He bets and there's a call and you can't do anything about it. A limp and again a limp, and we're the small blind, so we auto call with any 2 cards. I wouldn't mind leading out here. You're out of position, but take a small stab, bet like you've been doing, bet 300, bet 350, something like that. When you check there, you're just giving Steve free reign to bet any 2 cards, and you don't even call. Yeah, I think take the initiative there. A2, 10-6. We're gonna see flop at 10-6. So here we lead out. Whoops. What did I do? Okay. Here we lead out, and they get the fold. See, that's what happens when you lead out. They have to have the king there to even think about calling you. It's tougher with the 7, but lead out with, especially 3-handed. Take those opportunities to bet out and try to win pots before your opponents bet out and take the pots away from you.